or I've had some kind of trauma happen to me. And when I tell people I was born this way, about 50% of the time, people will say, oh, you should tell them it's a really good story. Like you got bit by a shark or an alligator or something really cool. But to me, this is really cool. But in a lot of people's eyes, it makes me almost handicapped.
So what other almosts do you have in your life?
Oh, I've got a whole bunch of them. So I was almost raped in college. I almost endured physical abuse in a relationship of mine where I chose to be with someone who was violent, especially when they drank. And although they were never violent towards me, they were violent towards themselves and surely had the opportunity to be violent at me. For example, smashing a beer bottle on the floor directly behind me without any warning. And that terrified me. When I tried to break up with this person, they started punching themselves in the face. That's terrifying. Was I abused? Well, I wasn't physically abused, but it was right on the edge, and that was something that I couldn't quite reconcile.
So were you a victim?
I didn't know it at the time and would never have thought that I was, because especially after I was almost raped, I asked other people I told them what had happened and asked them why I was feeling terrified, because 3 days later was when I had my first panic attack. And I had panic attacks for years and years after that. And the answer that they gave me was, but nothing happened. You weren't raped. So what's the big deal? And I was a theater major, so I thought I was just being overly dramatic, so I tried to stuff it down, hence years of panic attacks and not really knowing. In another relationship of mine, I experienced emotional abuse, where I just thought that I was wrong for everything. Everything was my fault because he told me it was my fault, and I just accepted that. It was easier to just follow along with him because I wanted so desperately to be loved. And I think it was about 8 years later after that relationship that I finally recognized that it was abuse. But I never would have thought so at the time, because surely he didn't mean it. Surely no one operated out of that mindset of wanting to manipulate someone.
So what ended up being your lowest point in the middle of all this brokenness?
Well, I was so desperate for earning other people's love. And then after every relationship failed, I started just turning to alcohol more and more often and started to really rely on that. And unfortunately, in 2011, when I moved to Tennessee, almost immediately after I moved to Tennessee, I received a DUI and was sent to jail for 48 hours and had to breathalyze in my car for a full year, lost my license.
And you just admitted that on TV?
Absolutely. Everyone should know. And it's one of those things where, it's okay. It's okay, because that to me was my identity as the good girl, and my identity as the responsible girl totally fell apart in pieces on the floor. And I didn't know where to go. So in that place of my lowest point, with all of my friends 850 miles away in New Jersey and me alone in Tennessee, I had to look to God and say, okay, I don't know who is going to love me because I don't love myself. Who's going to respect me because I don't respect myself. And certainly I must be this horrible person, but I'm not really an alcoholic, right? Because I don't live under a bridge. I've got a good job. But I'm definitely a criminal. And all of this was bringing me to a point of where God was showing me that it wasn't enough to just believe in him and believe that he loved me. I had to step out in obedience as he was calling me, because shortly before I received the DUI, he asked me to stop drinking. And I said, well, that sounds like a nice idea, God. Maybe one day I'll try that out. When you don't listen, then you're going to, like Jonah, end up with the whale, right? But when I started to get into recovery, and what I did was I went to Celebrate Recovery.
So that's how God met you in that was?
Absolutely. I prayed specifically for the right tool, the right place. If that was AA, I would go to AA. If that was somewhere else, I would go there, but please show me. And that Sunday at church, there was a speaker who was in recovery for heroin and cocaine, and he said, Celebrate Recovery was where he went. So I talked to him afterwards, got his information and the information of Celebrate Recovery, and that's where I started my journey. He was so fast answering that prayer. This is what I have for you. And here I am now 6 years later, and I am still at Celebrate Recovery, and I am part of their team. They have truly sown into me the truth, and I have truly started to walk a walk of obedience.
So you help other people now in the same areas that you experience brokenness and were a victim of other people and of yourself.
Absolutely. And all along the way, when I first walked into Celebrate Recovery, I remember thinking, are they going to treat me differently because I'm not really an alcoholic? Are they going to say, you're not really a smoker because you only smoke 2 cigarettes a day, so get out of here, you're not enough to help? I thought I was insulting people by showing up and saying I'm broken. But that wasn't the case at all. They were this warm, welcoming family that were all just standing there saying, hey, we're broken. We're broken too. We're all broken. We know it. We're not trying to hide it. We're not trying to pretend it doesn't exist. Masks off. We understand that this is a hurting place for you too. We want to help you. How can we help you?
That's incredible. So tell us about how even your cat can be broken.
Absolutely. My darling cat, I call her Little One. She has an attachment disorder.
Is she codependent?
She's a little codependent on me. That's for sure. A little enmeshment going on there. She is the runt of the litter. And so I really think, even though I didn't know her when she was a kitten, that she got shoved around a lot and pushed away. And so now she needs someone to hold on to and attach to. When I walk in the door, she is there. When I go to the bathroom, I have to wait until she follows me in till I can close the door, because otherwise she will tear up the carpeting and meow and drive everyone crazy. I need to account for her at all times in the house.
So another question I have is about a time when you're actually running into your abusive ex-boyfriend.
Oh.
Turned into a God thing?
Absolutely. That was just about a year ago, and I was completely caught off guard. Here I am on vacation in Orlando. It's beautiful. We're walking around the pool, and I see someone who is intentionally following me as I walk around the pool. And then I realize, as I look a little bit closer, I'm not sure if this is my emotionally abusive ex-boyfriend, but oh yeah, it could possibly be. And he keeps following me and it was scary. Now I didn't talk to him. I don't know if it was actually him, but I do believe that was God showing me that there was a place in my heart that still needed to heal. And it allowed me to sort of open up that box again and make sure that I had really forgiven him for everything that had happened and forgive myself. And I got to really dig into that story and say, yes, absolutely, I choose to forgive you, but not for you. I choose to forgive for me so that I can be free from everything that you have done. I can be free from the hatred, and I can be running around, on some mountaintop singing "The Hills Are Alive" and actually mean it and feel free and say, you know what, I forgive you. God has you. There's no way you could ever fix this. And I don't need an apology, because I'm sure I would never, ever get an apology. That's fine. I don't need one. It's between you and God, and me and God, and me and you. We're okay.
So that's why we're going to celebrate you as our ex-victim of the week.
Yay!
And you're even wearing the t-shirt. We can both say that we've been there.
Done
that. And we got the t-shirt. That's an awesome thing. So we're getting to be here and sharing that celebration to everybody else. We're getting to tell them about things like your bloom moment.
Oh, my bloom moment. And I think I've mentioned this, but I think what allowed me to bloom out of everything and continue even through that hopeless place to get through it to the other side is really what my parents told me when I was young, is that God wanted me and he made me specifically. And those things, just knowing that every time I take off my arm, every time I look at what makes me different, that this is God's stamp on my life. This isn't something that's broken. This isn't something that needs to be fixed. It just is. It's what God wanted for me and for my life. It's my blessing. And so I own it. I take it on.
You lend me a hand sometimes.
I lend you a hand
and
sometimes.
And then I could, like, I don't know, give myself a pat on the back.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is something that I've really just been able to continue blooming through, and knowing that no matter how bad it is, that he has a plan for me because he made me specifically. And I'm not better or different than anyone else. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, or excuse me, better or worse than anyone else.
You are a tiny bit different.
I am different, but not worse. Exactly. I am just like everyone else. I am God's child, and every single person is made specifically. He was just as specific with me as he was with you, as he was with you. And some of our differences are a little bit showier than the rest. Some of them are inside, and some of them we try to pretend like they're not there, but that's what he wants us to do, is put them out front. That's what he wanted us to go ahead and showcase, is our differences. God is the creator who just keeps being more and more unique. And he has that plan for us, and it can only be lived out if we are ready to step into that uniqueness.
That is awesome, and I'm thrilled that we get to do this together and actually share with everybody how, having been a victim, admitting you're a victim, owning you're a victim, however severe or however mild it is, we have the chance to own it so that we can become ex-victims.
Absolutely.
So that then we can reach out and help other people and actually share with them how they can go from being the victim to being an ex-victim when we're sharing about Christ coming into our life and sharing how we can start actually blooming today.
Absolutely.
In this
owning
place.
it, saying I am now an ex-victim because I was a victim. I cannot actually own being an ex-victim without first saying, yes, I was a victim. But God doesn't want to keep me there, and I don't have to stay there.
And so I can actually own my past, reach out for hope and healing.
Absolutely. Yes. Reach out. Mm-hmm.
So I can get help. I can work through that process. I don't have to stay in denial anymore. I can own it because I'm not stuck there.
Yes.
I can grow and heal and start enjoying life, start being healthier, and actually bloom today.
Absolutely. And Celebrate Recovery is a national and actually international program. For anyone who is interested, they can check that out at celebraterecovery.com to find a location close to you. It's a 12-step program that's actually Christ-centered. So I highly recommend it. And remember
to bloom
today.
A free PDF copy of the Bloom in the Dark book and a full list of Bloom Today's coaching tools can be found on bloomtodaytv.com. Then visit Bloom Today's Facebook group for deeper conversation.